I can get us started. So, hello everyone. I'm Joe Abraham. I'm the Public Image Chair for CNY Rotary. For those that have not met me, I think most of the people on the screen have. This evening, I'll be joined by Melissa Rathbun and Lizzie Martin and Lisa Jackson, who will all be presenting from CNY Rotary on some different facets of using AI. I know this is a controversial topic in society, still very polarizing, but we found the use of it in our daily lives, especially for something like Rotary, where it's a volunteer thing that we're doing. We have so much going on to be an incredibly helpful tool. And we're just going to kind of explain a little bit, me, Lizzie, and Melissa, about the uses of some uses for it in public image, a little bit about prompt writing. I'll be talking about internal and some external communications. We'll be doing websites, other sort of discussion. And then Lisa Jackson from Schenectady Club is going to kind of give a case study about some of her AI use and how they've used it to do some really cool things out in their neck of the woods. And then we'll have some Q&As, and then sprinkled throughout, we'll have a little bit of live examples. So yeah, different ways that you can use AI in public image includes creating content. I like to use it a lot to repurpose content, which we'll discuss. Internal communications, it's really helpful. We have website maintenance and updates, efficiency and organization, creative support, and then of course we have our real life case study. Okay, so in my neck of the woods with content, there's you can use it to do a lot of different things. You can turn one Rotary story into posts, emails, and newsletter pieces. You can draft press releases. You can use AI to shorten, rewrite, and summarize for pretty much any platform out there. You can summarize Rotary International news in a quick fashion for your members. And this is all incredibly time-saving while keeping your club's message consistent and visible. And then after I get done after the next slide, I'm actually going to show you guys some prompts of how I have used it. Also, internal communications. So this is really important because I know a lot of times people think about the external stuff and the flashy press releases, and that's all really exciting. But I know a lot of people, especially in our smaller clubs that exist, if you have a public image chair, great. We encourage everyone to have one in their clubs. But a lot of times it could be the president, that's also the public image chair, that's also the service person, and they're just incredibly overwhelmed with so many different facets. And internal communications can take a lot of time. Drafting clear and friendly emails. I don't have an example of taking meeting minutes here, but that is something you can use AI for. You can help write newsletter intros, event previews. You can spotlight members. You can keep internal messages professional and engaging. And the big thing, like I said, with AI, especially as we're all volunteers here, is that the time you can save doing some of these everyday, sometimes longer tasks can free you up to do more service in your community and other the many to-do list items that you have. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. I think if I just, okay, you can all see how unorganized my desktop is. And okay, so I was playing around a little bit in ChatGPT earlier, and I promise the big takeaway you're going to get today is really you get what you put into AI, and prompting is important. So I don't want you to think that some of these very basic prompts that I used um, to just give you the very basic examples of how you can use it uh, is how you should always do it. Because like I said, the more detail you give it, the better, especially when you're writing something from scratch. So what you see here first is a press release that I wrote for the Utica Club. It's very disheveled the way it's pasted in here, but it was about our urban tree planting project. We planted 30 trees across the city. So you see it has a lead, a quote, a little bit about the project, and how just basically the takeaway are the long-term goals about it, which it helps the environment and helps actually decrease crime, which I did not know that planting trees could do, but that's really exciting. And so one thing I did to save time is a lot of times you can wonder, well, how do I write a post for social media? Because different platforms have different audiences. So one thing I asked was for ChatGPT to give me a Facebook post, an Instagram post, and I think I might have asked it to do LinkedIn as well. I did, because those are typically, I think, the three most used platforms I would say I've seen Rotary clubs use. Um, and I also asked it to do an email, just like a friendly email to club members and community members that kind of explained what the project was about. So you'll see the Facebook post here. It gave you some nice little emojis, which you can or can't use. Sometimes I have a love-hate relationship with emojis, but you can decide whether you want to use them or not. But you see it says, it summarized it, very short to the point, gave you hashtags, which are incredibly important, and it recommended that you add a photograph. Instagram, you see it a little more quick and to the point, some bullet pointed lists, because that platform is not really supposed to be text heavy. You're supposed to have more photographs. And then you see your LinkedIn post, which is a little more professional, minus the tree emoji. And, it kind of talks to you about the different items and includes the quote from our past president at Utica Club. And then you'll also see kind of this email version that it gave, which is good to send out, like I said, whether it's to just your club members that couldn't make it and want to learn more about the project, especially if you don't have a weekly newsletter. And then also, too, if you have a community list or a list of emails, not just the media, but could be that you have the mayor and some other folks in the community and you kind of just want to share that project. So that was one item. The other item, which I thought was interesting, is I don't know if anyone here follows the Rotary Council of Legislation very thoroughly. I know Matt in our district does a great job of kind of keeping us apprised of the different things going on. But sometimes, especially for my brain, when they come out with their changes every year, it's like really long and extensive, and I just really can't comprehend the whole thing, or my brain just feels a little overwhelmed. So I just asked, using an article that was on the RI website with the 2025 summary that they gave, which was also excessively long, to kind of give me an email draft explaining all of the changes that occurred. And basically, you see it here, dear club members, they met in April. You see that, oh, they summarize that membership dues have increased, why that's important. And then smaller clubs can now be chartered with it. You had to at least have 20 members before. Now that lowered that threshold to 15 members. And then you have some of their other notable decisions, as well as some other things you can consider, like what we'll do next as president, like reviewing your budget and all this other stuff, which you can choose to include or not keep in there. I still thought that was a little bit long for your average member, so I asked it to go even more concise, which are kind of the three biggest takeaways from it, at least. This is what it pulled, which was, like I said, that slight dues increase per member, kind of that smaller club allowed charter perspective, and that district conferences are no longer required. Um, so that was interesting. And so that's just one item you can use it. And then this is a really longer prompt, but I decided, well, let's say you're a presidential figure and writing is not your forte, and you have to you want to tease your upcoming meeting and you want to kind of get involved. I put in there basically for the Utica Club how we have a not so silent night gift auction on December 11th, that we need to let the past president Travis know that if we're attending and if we're bringing a gift. Also mentioning that we have a monthly meeting at Tavolo. And then I made this part up, but let's say our guest speaker is some prominent person like past district president Lizzie Martin. And I went online and I found Lizzie's bio, how she was raised on a farm and all this great stuff, past district governor. And I included her bio in there. And then I said, give me a friendly email. And I also mentioned that Veterans Day, being timely, being tomorrow, we also maybe want to include a nice message to our veterans, because we obviously want to thank them for their service. And so, really quickly and easily, it came up with this subject line, Dear Rotary, as we gather this week, we take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to our veterans. It has a blurb about the Not So Silent Night auction, the club social, and then it mentions our guest speaker. You don't have to keep it in this form. A lot of times, like I said, I tried to keep this pretty basic so that uh, we didn't take a whole lot of time here tonight, but you can ask it to prompt in other ways. You can reorganize stuff. The more you put into engaging with the prompts and the different items, the better. And then I'll just show you guys one other example that I used AI for, because like I said, we're all volunteers and life is very busy. We have a new service chair in the district, Donna Adams, great person. She had sent me some bullet points over about herself, basically when she joined Rotary, a little bit about her professional career, and this quote about how excited she is for the role. And I used ChatGPT to give me kind of a draft of a press release, which I tweaked a little bit and is now up on our website. So that was a lot of things quickly. We'll have time for questions at the end, but I want to turn it back over to my peers if I can figure out what this button is. Here we go. Okay, so now I have stopped sharing, hopefully.
Thanks, Joe.
I'll pass it over to Lizzie.
It's always good to see even simple prompts can crank out some really great content for you quickly. I know sometimes at work we have prompts that we use that are 2 or 3 pages of a Word document long, but especially for our Rotary purposes and just repurposing that content like Joe showed, it can be easy. I'm going to share some ideas on how you can use AI to zhuzh up your website. Website maintenance is something a lot of clubs don't have a lot of bandwidth for, and this can hopefully save you some time so you have a nice fresh site. It's really important that your website looks fresh and is current, so if a potential member looks you up, you look like a vibrant current club. And the first thing that you can do is take social posts that maybe you've already put time and effort into and have them expanded into a news article that you could post on your homepage for a fresh update. So here's an example of a prompt. Turn this Facebook post into a 150-word website update with a headline. The rule is always to read everything, never blindly copy and paste, but it'll probably give you something really great. And I'm always surprised at how well AI does at talking about Rotary, because I feel like sometimes our Rotary storytelling and language and ways that we talk about our organization are very unique, but it does a really great job. One thing I like to use it for is just to freshen up an existing page. So take a page, literally take the URL of the page and copy and paste it into AI and say, please refresh the content on this page without losing any of the content. And if you do want to lose some of the content because it's too long, maybe you ask it to make it more concise for you. But it's a great way to revitalize a page. You can also use it for building out event pages. Again, this is like a repurposing tool similar to what Joe was just showing, but you give it the basic information and ask it to write you an event post for an event that you can share in your event calendar on your website. This is a really great tool. I did just test it out on my website the other day because I am my club's webmaster. But asking AI to scan your website for any outdated information or pages will save you a ton of time. It does scan pages that aren't live necessarily in your nav bar anymore, but that's okay because that's the human element of AI, right? You have to read through it and decide what's useful to you and what's not. But things that can get buried deep down in our websites can get outdated or expired, and you might not want it there anymore. And this is a great way to suss it out. So you can just put your website URL into something like a ChatGPT, which is, I think, what we most commonly use, and ask it to scan my site for anything that's outdated or seems not helpful anymore. And it'll give you a whole long list, and you can just go through it at your own pace to check through your site and keep it refreshed. And then consider when you're asking AI for help with updating a page or addressing a page that you tell AI what you want people to do when they're on that page. So you might say, refresh the content on this page so that more people will submit a contact form when they're done reading it. Or maybe you just want to make sure that people get a warm welcome feeling from the content on that page. You can ask AI to tailor the content to have whatever tone you're looking for or to encourage the right behaviors from people. Because usually when they come to your website, you're hopefully wanting them to connect with you in some way. And the way that you word things on your site and the way that you lay out the pages can really entice them to do just that. All right, next up. is Melissa.
Since I have to unmute.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's face it, when people think about AI, they often think of pictures of robots and crazy things. But for us, Rotary is really just, I mean, for us in Rotary, AI is just another tool. And it's one that can help us stay organized. It saves time, as both Joe and Lizzie just showed us. And it helps us to tell our stories more effectively. I mean, we're already juggling meetings, fundraisers, service projects, newsletters. So let's see how AI can make all of this a little easier. So AI can take your meeting notes or transcripts and turn them into clean, usable minutes or summaries in seconds. So just drop your notes into a chat GPT and say, summarize this transcript into Rotary meeting minutes. And it will pull out motions and action items and your next steps. You can even ask it to draft event checklists, like for a club picnic or a fundraiser, or create a volunteer sign-up reminder, right? So I'm in the process, much the way Joe showed you, we're gearing up for our Christmas shopping. And last year we shopped for 21 kids. So we need a little help from the community. So I'm using Chat GPT to help me draft letters that's going to go to our Friends of Rotary list. So writing quick follow-up emails or newsletter reminders. I have Chat GPT send me an email every Monday with my to-do list, right? So I have a checklist of things that I need to do for work on Mondays. And I get a reminder every single Monday so that I don't forget. So you can try a prompt like write a reminder email for tomorrow's food drive with a friendly Rotary tone, right? And you can send that out to your people. It all sounds natural, like you wrote it. And again, like Lizzie said, please make sure that you double check. Don't just blindly copy and paste. And it'll help to keep your message consistent across all platforms. And for those longer documents like grant proposals or reports, AI is great at summarizing. You can literally paste a 5-page report and say, give me a 5-sentence summary of this grant report. And it's a game changer for people who want to stay informed without having to read through pages and pages of text. But it's not just for writing. It can also help with member management and other repeatable systems. If you export your membership list to a spreadsheet, AI can analyze it. For example, if you're still taking attendance, you can say, review this spreadsheet and identify members who haven't attended in 3 months. Now, it's not because you care about attendance, but you might care about that person. And that will help your membership chairs target and for outreach personally, one-on-one, and it saves time instead of combing through rows and rows of data. In our zone, we have bilingual clubs, so AI can instantly translate materials while keeping the Rotary tone. You might say, translate this press release into French and keep the Rotary tone. The interesting thing is that the more you use AI, the smarter your systems get. So you can create templates for your club, like one for monthly meeting recaps or project reports, and just update the details each month. And it turns those repetitive tasks into simple time-saving habits. So let's talk a little bit about creative support. Once your club is organized and your systems are running smoothly, now we can think about how can we be much more creative. AI can help you maintain your club's unique look and feel. You can upload your logo to Canva or ChatGPT, and it can help you to identify your colors, your fonts, and even your tone of voice. That makes it really easy to create on-brand visuals, even when new members join the team or someone steps into the PI role for the first time. And remember us, right? Your public image team is a partner. We're not a gatekeeper. We're not the Rotary Police. We're not here to check every single thing that you post. Clubs are autonomous. You know your community best. But the public image team is here to support you and to be your creative backup. So if you're ever unsure about branding or tone, just ask. We're here to help. And we want to help you to look your best. We're not here to hold you back. Our last little piece is going to be about confidence, because AI can give every club the power to tell their story beautifully. AI helps you tell your story with the right tools. It saves you time so you can focus on service. Rotary has branded resources ready, and now AI makes using them easier than ever. If you're not sure how to phrase something, or you need a caption idea, or you want to match your colors and your tone between your public image team and your AI, we can guide you together. From color palettes to headlines, and we'll help polish your message, help you make it shine. So AI doesn't replace the heart of Rotary, it amplifies it. It helps us stay organized, communicate clearly, and present ourselves confidently to the world. So whether you're managing a service project, updating your website, writing a newsletter, think of AI as your behind the scenes teammate. And together we can spend less time managing tasks and more time changing lives. Who's up next?
Up next will be Lisa Jackson with Schenectady Rotary.
I'm here. All right. Are you doing the slides or would you like me to do them?
Would you like to take over? Is that easier for you?
Oh, go ahead. You're fine. I've got another copy here so I can keep myself on track. All right.
Okay.
So thank you. So I've been tasked with helping to share an experience of using AI, with our clubs as a true case study. For context, I've been using AI since 2023, I think, when it really first hit the scene hard. And I've used it to help coordinate our club's fundraisers. I use it at work. I use it pretty much on a daily basis now as a tool to help with skill gaps and to help polish things. So in this particular example, we're going to be talking about planning a new fundraiser. So we all know that it can be pretty easy to run a fundraiser that your club has done year over year. But what happens when you're a new chair or there's a new event that you're doing? There's no checklist, no plan, and you're not sure where to start. And this is where ChatGPT can work as a collaborator. And I think it's really important to remember that ChatGPT is a tool. It's not a replacement for the human experience or for human knowledge or for the human voice. It is a computer and it's not always right. It is absolutely not infallible by any means, but it is a wonderful tool for filling in those skill gaps. So we can start by opening up a chat and asking some questions. So we could move forward. So this example here is about starting a new fundraiser. The whole thing is built on one very comprehensive chat that goes in to start the whole thing that results in 8 different outputs. And what we're essentially doing is we're having the bot help us come up with an event name and concept, a logo description, identifying our target audience to publicize the event, writing a sponsor letter, a press release, a social media plan, and a day of event schedule for our volunteers and post-event materials. So we'll start with the top. So we're going to start with, our Rotary Club wants to create a signature annual community fundraiser. So we always start with the why. What are you asking the computer to do for you? What is chat going to do? And we'll move forward, please. The next thing we need to do is tell ChatGPT, who are they? Because otherwise the computer is just a computer and they do their best to guess. So we need to very specifically tell the bot who it is and what it's doing. So in this case, you're going to help us build a full event identity and a marketing plan from the beginning, even if our volunteers don't have any professional design or marketing experience. And that's really important to give it context, because it needs to know, is it creating something for a professional who has a lot of tools at their disposal, or does it need to keep it more basic so that we can actually use the information? So the first thing we need to do after that, thank you, is to define the information that's going into this. And this is the stuff that we should know, right? Who's our club? What's the cause? What's the event? So in this particular example, I used my club, Schenectady. The cause was to raise scholarship money. Our event type is a trivia night, and we gave it a date for the event, so it has a sense of our timeline, where it's going to be, the tone of the event. Is it, a super professional gala? Is it a light and fun barbecue? And this, this particular one is going to be more of like, a light, competitive, friendly competition. And then any other resources that you have to feed into this. So this is really important to really beef up the information that you're providing to the AI. And then we're going to tell it straight out, what do we want it to return to us? And in this case, we're asking for 5 to 7 creative event name options that fit the tone of what we're looking for. And then have it choose a name and explain why it thinks that that one is the best. And you can edit this any way you would want to, but this is how we built this out for now and moving forward. So in this first prompt, it came back with 7 different names that we could call our trivia night. And again, we were raising money for scholarships. So it made them all a little bit punny based on, education and a trivia night. And it noted not just the name, but why it thinks it's kind of fun. So we can really pick which one we're going with. I believe for our example, I chose Quiz for a Cause. It really match the vibe that we have in our club. It's okay, we can move on because I know I have a lot, so I want to keep moving. So the next thing I asked it was, let's go ahead, based on the name that we've chosen, go ahead and create a simple logo concept that's following Rotary International's brand guidelines. And then to let them know that it's going to be used on maybe flyers, t-shirts, and social posts. And that really does help determine how complex the design might be when it comes out. I also asked for Canva instructions so we could recreate it ourselves. Because as you'll see, I think if we roll on, we'll see the next slide. It came back with a logo for us. The one on the bottom left there was generated by ChatGPT, the smaller one. But as you can see, it is not in brand compliance. It's close, it's good, but it's got the wheel as part of the light bulb, which I don't believe we're allowed to do. But at the same time, as you can see in the output that it gave me the concept for the logo, having a circular emblem, putting a light bulb in the middle. It gave me the actual colors to use. I believe in the original one it actually gave me the hex codes for the numbers. So I went into Canva with the instructions that it gave me, and I rebuilt the logo to be more brand compliant. Added the QR code, added our logo off to the side. So you can see that while it's good at image generation, it's not always your final product. And I think that's important to note, that just because you ask for something doesn't mean you're always going to get exactly what you want. But I got a really good rough draft to help build my own. All right, let's roll on. So the next thing I ask it is to help identify our audience and the key messages, because no event is going to go anywhere if we can't reach our audience and help publicize it. So we're asking, help us identify our audience. Who's most likely to attend? Which local causes and community benefits will appeal to these people? And help me write 2 or 3 taglines or slogans. So you can see down below, it does provide a couple of tagline ideas. So again, if it comes back with a couple and you're just like, not really, you can just write back, hey, give me 2 or 3 more. As many times as you want to. I want it to be a little more fun, a little shorter. I'm looking for some alliteration. You can tell it whatever you want to keep iterating until you get what you're looking for. And we'll roll forward, please. But then it also came back with identifying who our ideal audience is. And this is important if you're putting your event out onto social media. If you put it out on your page and just hit like and share, it'll get to some people. But if you're trying to expand your audience and you're putting money and boosting your post to get it out there, you do need to define who your audience is. To, age range, geographic area, sometimes based on likes and interests. And this profile here might help build that profile for boosting the post, or maybe even some ideas on where to hang posters out and around the community. Rolling on. The next step, of course, is to help identify who would be really good sponsors or donors to publicize the event to as well for support. And again, based on the type of event, where we're having it, the demographic that might be interested in it, it provides a list of ideas. And again, these are all just starting points. If you're starting from scratch and you're not quite sure where to go first, this will be the first step to help build a structure behind it. And again, you can either dig into this, or you can use this just as your starting point and start, again, using the human aspect to figure out where the local businesses that you want to go to. Okay. All right. The next thing we asked was to help write a professional sponsor level, including sponsor letter, including sponsorship levels and descriptions for the event. So, and being very clear, we're looking for several different recognition levels. We need a community impact statement, a thank you paragraph, and contact information. When you leave off things like those bullet points, you'll get a decent letter, but it might not have all of the components that you're looking for. When in doubt, err on the side of too much information. It's easier to pull it out later than to wish that you had included it. And moving forward. And here's a sample of the sponsor level, sponsor letter that it wrote for us. Yes, the Rotary Club of Schenectady is inviting you to partner with us at our newest community tradition, Quiz for a Cause. And this is actually just the beginning of it. It does go on. It lists all the sponsor tiers and a thank you note. But in the interest, I just want you to see, it actually writes a pretty coherent letter. But as always, it needs to be proofread. And it needs to have the tone of a person. So always go back and read it and edit it as necessary to make it sound like you, especially if you're the one signing your name on it. Nobody wants something that looks like it was generated by the bot. So the next step is to create a press release announcing this fundraiser, include who we are, what the event is, who the sponsors are, and how to participate. And again, with more parameters, keeping it under 300 words, adding a short soundbite for radio or TV. And again, using all the same information, it turned into a fairly usable press release. Again, always go back and check it, but it gives you a really good starting point, especially if you've never written a press release before and weren't really sure what the format was, where to start, how to go. Literally this whole thing came out in like less than 20 minutes. The hardest part was formulating the prompt, and then everything was done. And moving forward. All right, so you've got your press release, you've got your audience, and then we need to start promoting it. And the next logical place to start is our Facebook and Instagram. So again, we're asking it for 5 social media posts, including headlines, text, hashtags, a Canva image description, and a posting timeline, including at least one that's a thank you, a save the date, a behind the scenes, and an event recap. So we move forward. And it actually did come back with 5 different posts. I think I only put one here so you could see the format that it comes back in. As Joe noted before, every time it makes social media posts, it is heavy with the emojis. And on the one hand, they do make them easy to read and they're cute. On the other hand, it's also very much making them look like ChatGPT made your post. And even within them, you can see like these M dashes, these long straight lines that are in the middle of the sentences. They are becoming a marker of something that was created by ChatGPT. So depending on, how strongly you feel about letting the world know that you use the bot to make your postings or to write your letters, You might want to go back and turn those into a second sentence, a comma, a something else. Otherwise, at this point, you're almost advertising that you use ChatGPT to do your work with you. I'm not going to say for you, with you, because you're putting your hand on everything. But it does list the post. It is telling me straight off when to make the post, 6 to 8 weeks before my event. It has our headline that'll be on top. It has our text. And it has the hashtags, and then it also has some prompts for what you might want to use for the picture. You could potentially use the logo that we made, but this one's suggesting, you know, a background of a lively pub with warm lights. And you can take that information and plug it into Canva and have it generate another image for you too while you're at it. But it does take a lot of the guesswork out, and we'll move forward.
Lisa, I just want to add another sign to
Yeah.
me that it was made by AI is there's periods at the end of everything that's a bullet point.
Right.
And that's like always been a pet peeve of mine. And the fact that ChatGPT does it to everything, I'm always editing that for sure.
So the next thing I'm asking it, so we've got our event, we have our PR, we're ready to move forward. So how are we going to organize our committees to get the jobs done? Right? You've just did 90% of the work all by yourself with one major prompt, but now you need to mobilize your club to get the real heavy lifting done. So I'm asking it to create a week-by-week checklist and job assignments for my event volunteers. And in my situation, I think I said I've got 3 on my event committee and 7 people on the day of the event. How can we split this up and move this forward? And we can roll. So it gave me a whole timeline here, starting, because I think I did this in October and the event was supposedly mid-November for my demonstration here. So it set me up to 8 weeks before, you know, calling the venue and distributing the sponsor letters. So you've got a whole checklist here to keep your committee right on task, right from the day you've started this up until the actual event. And I think it also gave me an hour by hour or minute by minute for the actual event, but I don't think I put it in here. But we can move forward. Well, it actually did give us some structure for the actual event. So the day of, knowing that we've got those, the handful of volunteers and what the role of each one of those volunteers could do at the event and what their tasks would be and who they should be. So again, that kind of helps take the guesswork out of how to do the event and what tasks are going to be needed while we're there. And moving forward. So then the next thing we had was creating a printable sponsor sheet and email graphics that we could edit in Canva if need be. So again, I took the logo that we made a couple steps back and I uploaded that as well. And it provided the guidelines to create this flyer that we can pass out. I am going to be honest, it did actually give me an image of a flyer we could use, but it was not pretty. But using the instructions that it gave me, I was very easily able to go into Canva and create this version of it, which is much more usable. And again, I would say that the image it provided was a really good rough draft to see what I could have, but it wasn't accurate enough and it wasn't editable. So using that as a draft to create something that's more of a final product, I think is probably more likely. Rather than going back and prompting over and over again, oh, you almost got it, but you need to change this. Oh, you got that now, but you need to change that. And the more you start reiterating like that, actually the worse it gets. So it's really good, I think, just to take the original concept and roll forward. And then we asked for it to make a follow-up email, thank you note for everyone who participated and all of our donors, and to let them know how well the event did, what kind of impact it made, and how we can invite them into our future events. I think, ta-da, thank you, what a night, thanks for your participation. So this really just helps take the guesswork out of a lot of the process of planning an event. And even if this only amounted to, wow, those are really great ideas, but we want to change a lot of it, you have a really good starting point for, you know, what the expectations are for your event. Yeah. And I think that's the end. I lost my, social media. Right, and this is just a summary of all of the different things we asked the AI to do and what came back. And this was all essentially in one 8-step prompt. So, and I do have a copy of this prompt in a Word document if anybody wants it for the future to test it out or to use it for your own use later, so you don't have to figure out what to write and how to make it go. But that's me. I think it actually did ask, do you want me to make a playbook for next year? Well, absolutely. You just write back yes, and then you have a checklist for next time around. This is just a summary of everything that we covered. You want to make sure that you tell in your prompt, what are we doing? Who are you while you're answering me? How to organize it? Making sure that it's receiving all the key context it needs to move forward, and what format you want your results in, setting your tone, setting the scope of the event, and letting it know how creative to be along the way. So I guess questions. There we are.
We're so comprehensive. I actually started typing in Chat GPT while you were talking, just to kind of play with some of the concepts. And
Right?
yeah, I mean, I have the Galway Rotary Spring Fling and a sponsorship packet, and it's really neat. It really is.
It is. I'd be happy to add the file to the chat if anyone wants to download it.
That would be fabulous. I know Dan has asked for a copy of the presentation for his club.
We will share out the presentation and the recording to everybody who registered too, so.
I do just want to add, before we take general questions about AI, my personal philosophy is I usually just try to interact with what I input into it, unless I'm like, this is RI Council of Legislation stuff, or this is some info about our event. You have to be very careful if you just ask it. While general ideas are good, like Lisa said, if you try to like ask for, this is probably stuff you won't do with Rotary so much, but for sourcing and different items, it can hallucinate and sometimes pull in stuff that isn't accurate. So that's why I personally just try to, like I said, interact with things I put in. So information about our club, our event, or general ideas or outlining information I already have versus maybe asking it to come up with or to search for random sites about stuff. Like I said, mostly this is more part of out of Rotary stuff. I just wanted to point that out to people, just to be leery sometimes of some of its sourcing. So,
Do I have a question?
sure.
Earlier, you and Lizzie said that, maybe Lizzie said it, that use Chat GPT to review your website. Now, my experience with Chat GPT or Grok or those type of AI is that you have to put information in a prompt. Now, do you take a file of your website and put it into the prompt? How does Chat GPT check the website?
Sure, Conrad, I just literally said, please review baldwinsville.rotary.org for any content on the site currently that's outdated.
Oh,
Yeah, so you just give it the URL. I am probably the laziest AI user there is because I don't even like to if I'm doing something for an event, like I wanted it to create some social post or something, I'm gonna take the event calendar link and put it in and say, make me some social posts about this event. I'm not gonna type in all the event information, right? So using the URL, just copy and paste it in, it can go read it. It will go read it
okay.
for you.
That's great.
In most
Is
cases.
Lisa, you still on?
Yes, not every site is accessible. I think a lot of social media won't go read because I did do that one time. I was asking it to assess our Facebook page and give us some tips for improving engagement, and it said I can't read that page. So
Can I ask Lisa a question?
Sure.
Lisa, do you have your ears on? There you are.
I'm here.
You had that one page that said output and it said dear blank. Now, can ChatGPT address those letters itself, or do you have to put each one in by yourself?
Okay, so I think it's really important to remember that ChatGPT is a gateway to the bigger internet, and the information that we put on there can be used to train the bot. So I think it's, and I don't think any of us really mentioned this, but I think you want to be very, very careful about sharing any personally identifying information. I would not give it your name, your address, your age, where you live, where you work. And I absolutely wouldn't, like if you're using it for work, I wouldn't put your customer's name in there, your clients,
Okay.
or the people you want to address your envelopes to. If you're uploading something that you've already written, I would redact anything that's personally identifying personally.
So in other words, no, thank you.
I would not recommend it. And the answer to that is maybe it might get it right sometimes, but I wouldn't trust it to own that information because once you put it out there,
It's
there's
out
no
there.
taking it back. There are some security settings that you can put on there if you think of it. And if you're using a free version of the bot as opposed to a paid version, I think someone said something once that really resonated to me. If you're using a service and you're not paying for it, then you are the product. Right? So I would be extra cautious about the information we feed it. Our Rotary clubs by themselves, I don't think it's bad to share their names. I mean, I wouldn't start writing bad things about Rotary out there. That could become part of a narrative. But I think, they're publicly searchable and whatnot. And I think, putting information about our events isn't problematic. But if I were, reviewing the finances for a client, I wouldn't put up anything with their name on it. So definitely I would use it with caution. Big Brother is watching at this point.
Mhm.
It
Thank
is a
you.
very powerful tool. Use it with care.
I will add into that, like, so for example, with ChatGPT, so at work, we have a paid account. And under the paid account, there is a setting you can put that says, we do not allow ChatGPT to train our models, or there is a setting that we at least have on our work account for that. I'm still kind of hesitant, to Lisa's point, to put in people's like personal information or whatnot, but at least then if you have that paid account, I may be a little bit more lenient. I work at a state university though, so it's, at that point, a lot of our stuff is public anyway, so I don't have to worry so much about that. But I will say though, with ChatGPT, if you use the free account, you do have daily limits. So a lot of times you might only get 5 questions, or sometimes it's a little less than that. Thankfully, for most of the everyday, hey, here's a nice press release we wrote, make me some social posts, you'll be fine. But if you wanted to just do all of the work that Lisa had just kind of did and interact with that prompt, you can do it in the free version, but you just have to do it over many days. So you might have to do like a few of them on day one, and then you have to wait until the free plan like gets you, like sometimes it's like a couple hours or whatnot. So keep that in mind. I also want to throw out just one other piece. There's a Notebook LM, which is one of Google's AI different offerings. That one's really good with breaking down information as well. It's just something less exciting, but you can, for example, in a notebook, upload your club's bylaws and, just have it there to interact. So if you have a question within your club and you're like, I don't know how we deal with this situation, you can go in there and ask it questions because it's only going to pull answers from what you put in that notebook. So that's helpful because there are too many people that probably have their entire club's bylaws memorized in the back of their head. So.
Joe, there's a question in the chat from Nancy. How do we reconcile using AI with its environmental impacts? Is our SREG team working on anything related to this? I'll just share my perspective on that. And I think it's certainly something that people are aware of, but still think this is an emerging thing where we don't fully know the impacts, but I always have faith that humanity is going to figure out how we adapt and address these issues. You know, we didn't know how to recycle plastics until we started having all these accumulations of plastics and needed to figure out how could we reduce them, right? So then people get creative in how to address things. So my hope is that people will get creative in ways that we'll be able to address this energy usage. But if anyone else has any more professional or informed opinions on that, I'd love to open the floor.
I'll just add, this is Nancy. I'll just add, Lizzie, thank you for that. Just locally, it's a big issue, especially for the town that Lizzie's parents live in.
Yeah. I'll just add in, I understand all of that too, and maybe I have a different perspective being kind of a younger professional that has about, probably 3 decades worth of work life left in me before but so many people are using it now and implementing it. You almost feel like you're going to kind of be left behind if you don't at least try to learn how to use it and try to do it ethically, by not stealing information or like plagiarism, basically still citing your stuff, and the environmental impacts. But I understand those concerns, the need for data centers, the increased cost of electricity possibly to power all of this infrastructure. There are a lot of questions that people a lot smarter than me are going to have to answer, but similar to Lizzie, I'm just optimistic that hopefully we as a society will come to that, or they'll find those answers. But in the meantime, I just try to use it ethically and try to use it as a tool because, once again, a lot of times I've heard people kind of compare it to calculators, not the environmental impacts portion of it, but people were afraid when calculators came out, that we were going to become kind of dependent on them, and maybe in some cases we have been, but um, I think to Lisa's point too, making sure it's a tool and not a replacement for our work is important. So that was a roundabout way of answering the question. But
Well, I thank you. And I think holding all of that is good because it's really great to have these kinds of tools available. So it's great. Thank you.
Did anyone ask ChatGPT how we're going to deal with it environmentally?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Did it get defensive?
um, all right, hold on. The bot says, very, very long answer. Hold on a second.
Oh, I'm sure.
It even made it relevant to Rotary, and I didn't even ask for that.
Oh, wow.
My bot knows me very well. But it doesn't know my name. Periodically I ask it, what do you know about me? It can write my whole bio, but it still doesn't know who I am.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to ask it to summarize this.
Make it more succinct for us.
Yeah, hold on.
I will, just to bring us back around to the public image-ness of all of this. And Lisa had it in one of her instructions. She did such a good job of giving you great advice while also giving you this big outline of a multi-tiered prompt. But one of the things I like to add on whenever I'm doing a Rotary related query, I add in, please follow all branding, voice and visual guidelines from brandcenter.rotary.org. Just a little add-in to anything I'm asking it to write or create for me Rotary wise, and then it knows to reference it. And she had that. She had, follow the branding from rotary.org. You can even just send it right to the brand center as well. But that way it just, again, almost to the point of being creepy, gives you the absolute perfect tone in that rotary voice that we're looking for it to speak in. So,
They have their bullet points about the environment.
okay.
So AI says we should only use AI when it creates clear value, when it saves time, improves accuracy, eliminates repetitive work, or supports our community impact. We should minimize unnecessary usage by using smaller models, batch tasks, and avoid iterative or chatty prompting to reduce energy and resource consumption. So have one really good prompt, and offset this with other efficient workflows where appropriate. Reuse your outputs and keep AI for tasks where the benefits clearly outweigh any environmental costs.
That's excellent. You know,
That's
Lisa,
good.
that makes me feel like we've spent all these years just freely using the internet as much as we wanted, right? There's no limit to how many websites you go to, no limit to how many times you refresh a page or anything like that. But we need to think of ChatGPT as almost like a limited resource, and to like be cautious with how many times we ping it and use it and refresh it. That's really smart.
We'll see, because we might make those conscious decisions as small individuals, but large corporations are going head into this. It's like recycling one bottle when an
Yeah.
entire company is creating a much bigger mess.
Yeah.
But I guess every little bit helps. So
Yeah. Are there any other Rotary public image AI questions before we sign off this evening? Or I'm also happy if you guys have additional questions, if you want to email me. I still use the news@cnyrotary.org email. If there's any specific questions with using it, if you sometimes it's better to kind of tackle these things situationally, because even though we have some general stuff, what you might do in different projects or situations might be different. So happy to answer any questions after the fact or as you're exploring the different items. So
Thanks,
did
Joe.
anybody learn new tonight?
Hmm?
Did anybody learn anything new tonight? Oh, that's good. All right. It's always a plus when somebody pulls something away out of the session. That's all.
I see a couple of thumbs ups.
That's great.